Hey everyone, we are back today with another live lesson, and the first thing I want to do is just apologize that these stopped. I know that early on in the pandemic, I think it was around March, I started doing these in the early days of when this all started happening. I thought to myself that I would just sort of continue doing it, but this whole pandemic situation started to kind of weigh heavily on me, and I wasn't having the time that I was hoping to do these in the morning, and I also thought that it would last for days instead of months, or, I mean, who knows how long it's going to last now, so it's kind of crazy. But, you know, every week I receive emails from people asking me to bring back these lessons. So I thought, you know what, as a service to the community, I'm going to try and do it at least once a week. Okay, so watch for this at least once a week. But as a way of supporting me of doing this, if you're enjoying it and appreciating it, please head to clarinet.com, subscribe to the newsletter, and download your free clarinet scale tracker. Now, this is intended for beginner players, so if you're a super advanced player today, I mean, feel free to watch, but I don't want you to complain in the comments that we're moving too slowly or something. This is really not for you. I love helping beginners to understand scales better because I think it really helps to lead to a better understanding of music. And why is that? It's because Western music, anyways, is normally made up of scales. They're like the building blocks of our music. And I really don't think, despite the fact that many beginners have a hard time with scales, I really don't think it needs to be that way, especially the major and minor. A lot of people can play all their major scales, but have never even played a minor scale. And this sort of sheet will work to change that. After we finish the majors, I'll add the minors too. But anyway, so today also, if you want to head over to clarinet.com, you can download this scale tracker. I'll put a link in the description after this airs, so I can't do it right now. But if you're really... Put my phone on... I can't remember how to do this. There we go. Do not disturb. Do not disturb. I don't know if you can still see me. Hopefully it's still working. This happened yesterday too. I accidentally ended the stream, so sorry about that. But you can head there, and you can also make a donation on PayPal. There's a link to do that, and you can click on any of our sponsors to support the podcast too. That's and the website and the YouTube channel here. That's also super appreciated. Last night I did a very special thing. I did a celebration for 300,000 downloads. We had a little party right here in my office in this very spot. And I also announced something else really exciting, and that is that the giveaway, I unboxed it early. So I haven't done the official unboxing yet, but for those who were there last night and for those who are there today, this is what the giveaway at 10,000 subscribers will be. So make sure to hit that subscribe button too while you are here. But there it is, a beautiful Cocobolo gold Bakun Protege clarinet. You know what's funny is every time I pick that up, my face gets all bright. It's like the camera, the gold is so bright that the camera adjusts to it or something and makes me look all weird. So there's without, there's with. Anyways, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And the lessons are really back today too, because someone asked about them yesterday. And I said, if this video gets 10 likes, I will do a lesson tomorrow. And right away, the lessons, or the people were asking for it, I guess, because it went up to like 25 likes for that video. And here we are. So let's do the same thing. As soon as this video gets to 10 likes, the next day I'll also do a lesson, okay? 10 seems like a reasonable number. If you're watching this, just like the video, and usually these get, several likes within the first couple days, so let's hope it gets to 10. Anyway, so I was cleaning my office in a big way since I was making these, and it's still not ready for me to kind of show off yet. I'm still refining the end of that. I hope to be done by this weekend. But I accidentally, I think, got rid of or lost my original scale tracker. So I believe we had just finished the Chalumeau register scales. And what I want to do today is a bit of a review of those because it has been a while. Before we go over the break, let's get those totally reviewed and ready to go. And before we move on too, I want to give you a couple tips as far as how to improve your speed. So many players, their goal is that they want to play fast, but what they don't realize is to play fast, you first have to play slow, and you have to really get it in your fingers and figure it out. And I know people are sick of hearing that. Me too. I'm practicing guitar right now, learning to get better at guitar, and trust me, it's so frustrating to be going at 40 beats a minute, really slow. But if you do that and you do it consistently for a few weeks, you can then improve your speed. So let's do a bit of a review of all the scales that we've done in the previous lessons. We'll stay here for about half an hour and practice this. You can practice with me. And after this is done, when you're done watching, oh, someone's commenting. Yeah, Jamie says, or James, I think, sorry. He says, going back to playing scales at 60 was eye-opening. He started lessons with a new teacher. Awesome. Awesome. Well, hopefully this will help as well. Where was I? So basically, yeah, we're going to review these. I don't have my metronome because my metronome's normally on my phone, of course, and like I was saying last night too, I did buy a new webcam with the hopes of broadcasting with my computer, but I can't hook it up because I can't seem to figure out how to connect it to YouTube. So I will figure that out eventually, and then I'll have a metronome again. But it's the modern day. I don't have a physical metronome box anymore, so I'm going to be my own metronome, approximating some tempos today. But what I was going to say, I guess, is when you practice these by yourself afterwards, try and only review the ones that we've done unless you feel like you're really ready to move on, okay? Because you don't want to be practicing these easier scales and getting them under your fingers and then suddenly jumping down to 3 octaves of F sharp major. Like, that's not really a very wise thing to do because you're going to be messing up all your fingerings, and you want to practice perfect. Practicing perfectly makes perfect, okay? That doesn't mean you can't have fun with it. Doesn't mean you can't try and see how fast you can go today, but try not to skip around too much. I find this method really works. So as just a quick overview for those who have not seen this sheet before, this is the way that I've taught scales for a long time. And I kind of formalize it into this little sheet here. My voice is not working today, sorry. And basically what it is, it's kind of like going skiing. So if you've ever gone skiing, I'm Canadian, so I've gone skiing a lot. But there's green runs, super easy, beginner you could say. They call them bunny hills here, all the green runs for the beginners, the young kids. And then the blue runs are kind of intermediate. The black runs are hard. And then they have these thing called double black diamond and ski hill runs. And for me, those are the ones that are even darker in the box here, okay? So they're still black because I can't do 2 shades of black. But this is sort of my way of teaching the scales. I think it's quite helpful. And it also I'm such a visual person that there's an error I can't watch. Can anyone else see? Can you comment if you're having trouble seeing the stream? Anyway, I think it's super helpful because what it does is it visualizes where you're at and the work you still have to do, right? So I do a lot of my, planning in life this way. Even the podcast episodes, when I'm trying to get out a certain number of podcasts, I'm checking them off in little boxes, and it's just the way that I think, okay? So, but let's review them. So I think we started with F major. F major is 1 flat, okay? And I think this is the easiest scale to play on clarinet because it has all your fingers are down, the back thumb, first, second, third, and then the far upper pinky key that closes 1 pad. So there's a couple ways to think about that, okay? And then all you do is you lift your fingers one by one until you get to the back thumb F only, and then you put them back down. Super easy. It's a little tougher if you're just beginning because it is, to be honest, hard to get down to those lower notes. But it is a heck of a lot easier to start on this scale than to start on concert B flat, as so many band programs do, because you need to close those fingers anyway. And I think it's super important to figure out the low notes before you figure out the higher notes because they are literally the same fingerings. Your high C is the same fingering as your low F, right? So you need to first play the note that's below so you can get the one above, in my opinion, okay? Anyways, let's try the scale. Can someone comment if you can hear me? Because I am now worried that it's not working. Georgia says she can't hear, and I haven't heard from James again, so I'm wondering if this is somehow not actually working. Oh, the joys of YouTube Live. Okay, let's play the scale. This is F major, quarter notes, nice and smooth. Let's not even tongue. Let's just nice, smooth air moving the fingers. We're going to really articulate with our fingers, right? 1, 2, 3. So we can actually see my hands. So there's F major. So when you practice that a few times, Ivan says you can see and hear, great. So this is just your review. So we're going to check that off. We've done it. Color in my box on my chart here. There we go. F major. Shallow register. That's how the chart's organized. Okay? Next is the arpeggio. So what is the arpeggio? I like to think of arpeggios as basically chords. This is how clarinet players practice their chords. Chords are just scales in kind of a different way, right? So we're going to play the first, third, and fifth note of the scale, which in this case is F, A, and C. And then we're going to put the octave on top, which is the top F. Okay? So we go F, A, C, F, C, A, F. And it will sound like this. 2, 3. Okay, there's that. So you can color that one in. Okay, next I always like to do G major, because G major has 1 sharp, and it's also in a similar range, okay? Now, the big things to remember about G major, as I went over last time, middle finger B, we're not going to play the first finger B flat, so it's a little weirder because you go 3 fingers on the right hand, lift the ring finger, and then you lift the first finger, okay? So that middle one stays down, which is different, obviously, than the other order, right? So B natural, and then as we're going up, we're going to play F sharp, which is the front finger only, okay, before playing the open G. So we go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, okay? Let's try that one. 1, 2, 3. Arpeggio again is G, 3rd note, B, 5th note, D, octave, G, G, B, D, G, D, B, G. Let's try that. 2, 3. Good. All right, so there's that one. We've done both of those. They're down here. Okay. Now the next scale that I believe that I did in the 3rd lesson was B flat major. Now this one has 2 flats. It's still tighten the ligature, it's a bit too loose. It's actually quite tight already, but thanks. Okay, so yeah, you might be hearing a little bit of fuzziness. I'm hearing that too, but also this mic is not so great, and I think I'm overpowering it a little bit, so is what it is. So the next one, B flat major. Okay, so this one has this finger, first finger on the right hand, and this is of course your B flat that we just played in the F scale, right? So as we're going up with this one, the other weird thing, and this is one of the weird things about clarinet that I'm always talking about, is that it's such a strange instrument in that when you go up notes, you sometimes have to push fingers down, you sometimes have to lift them. Totally different than guitar. Like on guitar, whenever you want to go up a note, you always put down a finger, you know, unless you're crossing a string upwards, I guess, but that's another point. So for clarinet though, in this scale, we're going to go up 1 note by lifting this finger, lifting, and then pressing, and then lifting 3. That's a super weird pattern. So you'll have to practice to get this in your fingers if you're a beginner. It'll take a while. But the notes in this scale are B flat, C, D, E flat on the side, and try and use your knuckles. Don't press it with the tip of your finger, right? And it's the first bottom side key, right? Then lift 3 fingers, not too high, but to get that F. I'm exaggerating here just to show you, but F's on the back. F natural, not F sharp from before. G, A on the front, and then B flat. And the trick for those last 2 is the A, you want to kind of roll up there with the knuckle. You don't want to play it again with the tip of the finger. You don't want to move your hand like this, right? And for the B flat, once you press the A, you just want to use the tip of your other finger. You don't want to be moving your whole thumb up like that, doing this. You never want to move your hand around too much. It'll cause problems later, okay? That's a lot to think about for this scale. So this one you can go as slow as you want just to figure it out and really be comfortable, okay? If you're having trouble ever and you can't get past a note, or every time you play, let's say you do this. You make a big mistake every time at the B flat, the E flat, because you can't do it. You always mess it up. Just stop and build the scale 1 note at a time. Can you go B flat C? Okay, good. Can you go B flat C D? Can you go B flat C D E flat? Etc. Right? And then maybe back down. Etc. You can build it like that, okay? that's really helpful if you can't play the whole scale. You can still practice the scale if you can't play the whole scale yet, which is really great, okay? If you're a very beginner, as I recommended at the very beginning of these lessons months ago now, so I'll give a reminder, just learn the first 5 notes of each scale for a little while, okay? That'll be even easier, and you can get a lot more practice done a lot faster by learning 5 or 6 scales to the first 5 notes than you can get enjoyment from trying to fuss over one scale for too long, right? It's really, you want to be motivated with music. When I first got a clarinet, I went home, and the first thing I did was try and figure out as many notes as I could. And that, for me, was a lot of fun. I figured out a lot of interesting things. But if I had just focused on, the one thing that I'd learned that day, I would have gotten super bored. So you do want to move around and play around and do different things. And if you can get something, I'll go over this in a minute. I got some ideas for how you can get better at these, okay? All right, so let's play B flat major, okay? Remembering all the things I just said. So if you're just tuning in, sorry, I'll have to go back. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm doing it all in one breath. You might want to breathe at the top. Anyway, there's B flat, okay? You might notice some of those notes at the top, a more advanced kind of thing is that some of them sometimes sound a bit stuffy. So if you're playing, and that's normal on any clarinet, B flat is known as kind of a famously questionable note on any instrument. You might want to try experimenting with different fingerings or resonance fingerings, but we'll talk about that later, okay? Arpeggio for that one. Arpeggios are always the first, third, fifth, and octave, right? And what I mean by first, third is you just count. What's the first note of the scale? B flat. What's the third? B flat, C, D. Okay, so it's B flat, D, F, B flat, F, D, B flat. Let's play that. 2, 3. I just thought of something else, sorry. When you're going from F to B flat, make sure you use that pivot I was just talking about. You don't want to move your whole thumb. Everyone starts out doing this kind of thing, right? So make sure, it's really important. That's why it's important, actually, because you can get away with it when you're playing the scale, but you can't get away with it when you're playing the arpeggio or other more difficult patterns, right? Some water, just a second. It's been so dry here lately. For everyone but my fish. We're actually out and about again. See this big guy right here. I don't know if you can see him in the video. They're kind of fun to have around when I practice and work and stuff. Anyway, B flat major arpeggio. 2, 3. Even that, I was a bit tentative. I got all of a sudden nervous I might make a mistake that I was just talking about. But here's what it sounds like when you do it wrong. I'll do it wrong just to show you. Now I totally exaggerated, but you can probably hear the little blip in there. That's a G getting stuck in there by accident. Okay, you don't want that. You want it to be very smooth. A really cool way to practice this is take your phone, and most of them have a slow motion video capture setting now. Film, and this is super nerdy I guess, but film your scales and arpeggios with the slow motion on, and it'll sound a lot lower, but you'll be able to hear if there's any little blips and things in your sound that you normally can't hear without it. So it can be a really helpful tool, okay? So if you've been practicing along with the other lessons, you'll know that this is where we left off. And instead of moving on today, I just want to talk about those 3 scales. Just let me color these in. I really should have picked another color besides green, I guess, for this, but it looks kind of cool, I guess. By the way, if you're just tuning into this and you want your own scale tracker, I'll be putting a link in the description of this video after this airs. So we got 3 scales now, and that's actually a pretty big accomplishment if you're just starting out, right? So what are some ways, before we move on to the upper register, to make this more interesting, get them under your fingers, get them faster, feel more comfortable? There's actually a lot of things you can do, okay? I like to practice, of course, with a metronome, but you'll also find that a metronome is a super dry and uninteresting way to practice too, and you can get bored of it too easily, right? So I can't use it because it's on my phone right now, and I'm filming with my phone, but I have an app called iReel Pro, and what that is it's basically a reel book built into an app, and it lets you add drum sounds in different rhythms, guitar, bass, I think there's like keyboards or something too, and it basically just like harmonizes songs, But if you're not playing songs, you can actually turn the other instruments down and just use the drum beat. It's so much more interesting and fun to practice your scales with a drum beat than it is to practice with just a metronome. And it can actually help you, it's as if you're playing with someone, right? Because the nice thing about a drum beat is like, they have like little things to kind of fill in, and it's not just the beat. So it can really help you to actually feel the beat inside of actual music, which is honestly a lot more helpful, because you're never going to go to band rehearsal and have it just be totally quarter notes for you to follow along with. Some people are playing eighth notes, some are playing longer notes than you. You have to kind of blend into the sound, right? So it can be really fun to practice with a drum beat. So that's the first kind of tip that I would have, is find yourself a drum beat. Even on YouTube, I think there's just some free drum beat tracks you can put on. Pick one that's a reasonable tempo. If it's not, you can adjust the sound within YouTube and practice with that. But another thing to do is, like I was just doing a minute ago, building the scales one by one. So you can start off by just doing one note, two notes. I'll just show how this would sound. 1, 2, 3. It's F major, of course. 2, 3. Something like that. I'm kind of speeding it up because I don't want to take too long, but that's the gist of it. Even one note at a time. The whole way you could do. And if you're going to do the whole scale, you might want to wait 2 bars, so it's like 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. Gives you a chance to think, etc., right? And eventually you can go the whole way down too. And you can play with the length of the note too. You can play them longer, shorter, tongued, slurred, all sorts of different things. Another way, when you practice guitar, for example, you work on a lot of different finger patterns up and down, and you kind of just do them very repetitively. So you might want to find a way too to do different scale patterns on your clarinet. And there's one scale pattern called thirds, and basically you're going to go up by 3 notes, so F, G, A, so F, A, then you're going to go down 1 note, G, up a third, B flat, etc. And it ends up sounding like this. Etc. And that'll help you get the scale into your fingers, okay? Also, if you want to play with the metronome, experiment with using the same tempo, but then changing your notes to eighth notes. So maybe you play it once up and down with quarters, then you do eighths, then you do triplets, then you do sixteenths. You're actually practicing at various tempos while staying at the same tempo, if that makes sense. So you might be at 40, but if you play eighth notes at 40, you're really practicing quarter notes at 80, right? If you play triplets at 40, you're really practicing quarter notes at 120, right? Math is a hard thing. But that's what happens. So you're kind of tricking yourself into playing. Now, if you're playing unevenly or you can't do it, I wouldn't recommend that. But for example, this is how that would sound. Let's do quarter notes first. 2 and 3. Etc., etc., right? You could practice something like that. That might really help. But what I find really helps, and a lot of students kind of get their mind blown by this, but try to learn some tunes by ear, even very simple ones, okay? And then you're going to practice like 50 great skills at once here, but you're going to learn something by ear. You're going to also learn it by fingers, of course, because you're putting it into your fingers, but then you're going to practice transposition, and I'll explain what I mean. So let's take a really simple melody. Maybe Ode to Joy, okay? If I'm going to start Ode to Joy and I'm going to play it in F major, does anyone know, can you comment what note I should start on? I'm in the key of F major, I want to play Ode to Joy. What would be a good note to start on? There's 5 people here, can someone comment? It's just like in a real clinic, no one wants to say. First, you have to sing. You have to know the melody in your ear, though, too. So, Ode to Joy, that's the one. Da 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 da. Right. So, what does it do? Does it go up or down? Da 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 da. It sounds like it goes up to me, right? So, I just happen to know, of course, but this was going to start on A, okay? So what that means is that Ode to Joy is going to start on the third note of our scale. And if we go up the notes and down the notes, we can find that music, okay? So just watch this. I'll stop there for now, okay? So what's happening? Well, we've got the third note of the scale, which is A, right? And then we went up a note. I should show it here. A. We went up a note to B flat, up a note to C. And then we went down. Da. I can't really sing that low right now. Da 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 da. Right? The low register. Right? That's our little melody. Okay? Now, once you figure that out, you want to try, and so I'm just going to reposition my reed here. You want to try and do it such that you can play this now in all the scales that you know, right? So take what we just figured out, which is it starts on the third note, and let's just play the first couple bars in our other scales. So that was F major, we start on A. If we go to G major, we're going to start on G, A, B is our third note, okay? We're going to play in this key with the same notes of the scale, 3, 4, 5. Right? Now one thing about these leger reeds is as you warm them up, they sometimes go a bit soft, so I'm finding this one's getting a bit buzzy. I maybe should switch to a harder one, but I don't have it within reach here, so we'll just go with it for now. Okay, that was G major, all right? So let's do B flat major. We go to the third note, which is B flat, C, D. Now this one you have to remember your side note. We're gonna go up again. And what this gives you is actual practice playing in the key that you're trying to learn, okay? So I think if you could do these several things, the first one was, play with the metronome or play with a drum track if you don't want to play with a metronome or you find it too boring. Second one was build the scales, practice them in eighth notes, quarter notes, various patterns like that. It can be really helpful. Other patterns are great too, thirds, fourths, going up a few notes and then back, like etc. You can play that all day, right? Different patterns. Be creative. Make up your own pattern. Try and get it perfect at a various tempo, starting slow, right? This will get the scales not just in your head, but in your fingers, and it'll actually be very difficult for you to make a mistake unless you want to. Like, if you're thinking in your head that you're playing an F major, and you know F major, and you can play all these patterns, what are the odds that you're going to play a B natural? Virtually nothing. It just won't happen because you practice it correctly so much, right? And in fun ways. So, and the last thing I said to do was to play the scales with different melodies. And I picked Ode to Joy. That's a melody that I found. And then think about where it is in the scale. So where did it start? Once you figured it out by ear, which is a great exercise in itself, you have to pick a major melody, obviously, because we're doing major scales. Not really, I guess. You could, anyway, we won't go there. But pick a melody that you know that's a major melody. It can be really helpful to pick a simple tune. Happy Birthday is a good one, although it has some bigger intervals. Ode to Joy, Mary Had a Little Lamb, Hot Cross Buns, Go Tell Aunt Rhody, all these beginner songs, even stuff you hear on the radio, but a lot of stuff on the radio is just one note, like Katy Perry songs are just da 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 da. It's not really that exciting. So these can be really helpful. Then transpose them into different keys and try and play all your songs in different keys. And this is not only great for your thinking about the music, your ear, your fingers, it's great for your understanding of the scale. And it's great for when you go to read music, because a lot of kids, when I go to clinics, they ask, like, well, how is it that you can just look at our music and play it? It's like, well, I've played those patterns hundreds, maybe thousands of times, right? So I don't need to practice it because I can see it and play it right now, right? Whereas if it was something very complicated that wasn't even tonal, you have to go in and really work on that, right? But there comes a point where, like, if you see Mary Had a Little Lamb in a new key, you're going to have to practice it a few times, but you can figure it out because of your understanding of the music, right? But if you've practiced all these little melodies, you'll be amazed at the stuff you can just pull out and play from your band music, and even just, if you're sight reading, let's say you're doing an exam or something and you have to do sight reading, great skill to have. A step we're not doing right now is reading the scales from the music. I think it's great to start by ear, but there is a point where you should add actually looking at the scales, and maybe we'll do that at some point. But this was kind of an exercise to memorize your scales, and really the best way to memorize them is to not look at them at all and just play, right? And if you can play some melodies, trust me, you'll feel a whole lot more confident too. There's a funny story about a pianist, and then we'll stop because we're going over 30 minutes now. But there's a funny story about a pianist who, really famous, I don't remember his name, but he was at an event for like a dignitary of some kind, and it was someone's birthday, and they all looked over and they said, "Oh, Maestro, would you play us Happy Birthday?" And he realized apparently that, oh my God, I don't know how to play Happy Birthday and harmonize. He just suddenly realized this. So into a panic, he kind of just said, "I'm sorry, but that's not in my repertoire." And he was joking, and everyone laughed, but he wasn't joking because he actually wasn't sure if he could do it. And he realized how ridiculous is that he can play, Rachmaninoff from memory in front of an audience, but he couldn't harmonize Happy Birthday. So he took that as an opportunity to work on his ear and become a better musician. And it is true, like, the average person is going to be more impressed. I'm not saying you should become like a party show performer, but if it's your grandma's birthday, and it'll mean more to her for you to just play her Happy Birthday than it will to pull out the Mozart third movement concerto and start busting away. It'll mean more, and if you can't do it, then that's a really it's just kind of a sad thing. So there's 7 people here now, so thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. If this video gets to 10 likes, I will come back probably Monday and do another one. We'll move on to the higher range scales. Let me just check and see before we go if there's any questions in the chat. And also, if you're really enjoying these and you want to help support the channel, be sure to subscribe. There is a giveaway coming up. Where did it go? Bakun Protege Clarinet. You had to leave early. Okay, I'll show you now. They're commenting that they had to leave early yesterday and couldn't see what's in the box. And you know what? I was hoping to leave that video up, but there was an error in the YouTube uploading, and it got deleted by accident. So sorry about that. So subscribe to the channel if you want a chance to win this and learn about the giveaway later. 10,000 subscribers, I will be giving this away to a lucky subscriber. This is a Bakun Protege Cocobolo Gold Clarinet, and look at that. Every time I lift it up, it changes my face to a different color. The gold is so bright and shiny, folks, that's what's happening. Also, if you really enjoy these and want more, you can head to clarinet.com, subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll get this clarinet scale tracker. I'll put a link in the description below. And if you want to help support the channel even further, you can join Patreon for as little as $1 a month, get access to ad-free Clarinet podcast episodes. There's over 130 episodes now you can check out. And if you want to send me a tip of some kind, you can do that too. There's a little link on there. So thanks so much for tuning in. Someone else asked, what did they say? Great sound. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Well, you ever tried the AK ligature? Yeah, I have one. It's in my drawer, actually. But I think I broke the pad or something. It doesn't stay on so well right now. How's the Lumiere clarinet? Oh, I love it. It's awesome. It's really great. I love the key work. I love how it looks, obviously. I love how it plays sounds. The intonation is great. I've really enjoyed it. So I've got a matching A one now, which I haven't played yet, but for the videos, but maybe I will at some point. There was one more question. What's in the box? Oh yeah, that's right. I just showed you. So thanks so much, everyone. Don't forget to like this video and comment below on what you'd like me to go over next time if you have any questions. But do make sure to download your chart, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and go over your scales. Oh, one more. Georgia Ansa is asking me, can I demonstrate the AK ligature right now? Let me see if I can find it real quick, okay? It's in a drawer, which I'm currently organizing. Sorry, no, it's not there. It's not there right now. I'll have to find it. Like I said, I've got some drawers like totally disorganized and out on the floor even right now. Completely trying to get everything in its right place. And KonMari my office, as they say, but it's not in the drawer where I thought it would be. So I'll have to do some digging, but it is somewhere around here. I have a gold AK ligature, which, sorry, George, I've been asking about that for a while. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in today, everybody, and I definitely hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next time.